No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening at Boston Pizza, Taylor Avenue, as well as on through all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show, live from Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here with my colleague, Dave Manouk, as well as many legions of fans. The members of the IC Nation are out in full force tonight to watch the Winnipeg Jets defeat the Pittsburgh Penguins by a 4-1 score. Make some noise, everybody, here at Boston Pizza. There you go. They were talkative and chatting it up all night long, and then when I need them to make some noise, they all of a sudden go quiet to listen to me. Another convincing victory for the Winnipeg Jets, Dave Manouk. 4-1 is tonight's victory against an overmatched Pittsburgh Penguins team, a game that the Winnipeg Jets really had control of from early in the first period. A minute 22 in is when they took the lead, a lead that they would not relinquish as the Jets moved to an incredible record of 17 wins and 3 losses so far in the 24-25 season.
Yeah, Drew, that was like men versus boys. It really didn't seem like Pittsburgh was in the same league as the Winnipeg Jets, to my mind, in watching that game. And they're a shell of the former team that they used. It's
kind of sad.
It is a bit sad.
It is a bit sad.
I understand what they were trying to do, but it just isn't happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, that Carlson contract, as Spency mentioned, is not going to look very well. It doesn't look good now. It's not going to look good in a few more years. This Pittsburgh team just doesn't have it. They don't got it going on, as they like to say. So it's a good win for the Jets. It's a good way to start the longest and hardest road trip of the season with a win, and a convincing one. Connor Hellebuck, not overly taxed, only gives up a goal on the power play, on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, that was a good way for the Jets to kind of kick things off and feel good about themselves and feel good about, like I said, a really tough road trip, and you're not overly taxed tomorrow now when you're going into Nashville.
Well, you're exactly right. And to your point, you need an easy win or two on this road trip. I mean, It's a tough road trip. It's been documented. It's 6 games. You're crisscrossing the continental United States. You're playing in different time zones all the time. It's not an easy road trip by any stretch of the imagination, but when you can start it off with an easy victory, and I know that, not a lot of games in the NHL, and the players themselves would say there's no such thing as an easy victory. Mm-hmm. This was a pretty easy win for the Winnipeg Jets. They badly outclassed the Pittsburgh Penguins, a Penguins team that we know came into the game struggling, and those struggles only continued. They just looked like just absolute shells of themselves. If you had been told that there's probably 4 Hall of Fame players on that Penguins team, and there are, with Crosby, with Malkin, with Carlson, maybe Letang, for conversation's sake, let's say him as well. If you had said that's a team that's got 4 Hall of Famers on it, people would have laughed at you. They just looked so listless, so lifeless, and I can't help but feel bad for Crosby and Malkin, particularly for that this is how they're spending the final days of their career, playing on a rudderless team going nowhere like the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Well, their 3 Stanley Cups that they have are going to keep them warm
solace.
at night. So
it's nice solace.
I suspect that they're not, feeling too badly about themselves. And look, Sidney Crosby chose to stay and sign a team favorable deal in order to make Pittsburgh competitive.
Yeah.
So look, you understand why they did what they did, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this was a game that the Jets dominated, really, for lack of a better term. I mean, the Penguins really didn't look that they had anything, like I said, going on throughout the game. And power plays aside, Winnipeg, which, again, it's one area Winnipeg needs to work on, and they need to work on their taking penalties. And look, Alex Iafallo's phantom penalty call, which ironically ends up being the goal against, that's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, that's one of the areas that they're going to work on, because the PK coming into tonight's game was 17th overall in the NHL. probably the only area that I think Pittsburgh's, okay at is penalty kill. I think they're ninth. They came into the game ninth overall. But one of the things I looked at when I was doing the pregame report on a little site called illegalcurve.com.
Make that plug. Get that plug in there.
But one of the things I noticed, Drew, was the fact that Pittsburgh gave up coming into tonight's game.
Yeah.
They've given up the most goals in the NHL at 83. And Mike McIntyre, who was at PPG Arena, he mentioned on Blue Sky, Twitter, whatever medium, social media you're on, he mentioned it on both. But one of the things he mentioned was the fact that the Pens fans actually booed Jarry when he was introduced.
And the only reason this game was close, at least early, was Tristan Jarry.
Yeah, of course. The Jets were dominating the game. So, and look, we don't follow the Penguins. It's not Penguins lunch, as Spency would like to say.
Yes.
So we don't know exactly what's going on in Pittsburgh.
In fact, he just said that right to us. He's sitting here right off camera, and he just said, this isn't Penguins lunch.
but this is a game that the Jets did absolutely everything they needed to do. And I think
when you're a better team and you're playing against a weaker opponent, you do exactly what the Jets did. You get an early goal thanks to just a atrocious Penguins turnover. You control the game early on. The Penguins, the Jets were out shooting them 7-0 for a
7-0, yeah,
for a large part of the first
7
period.
or 8 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what you want to do. You don't want to give them a chance. You don't want to give them any life. You don't want to give them any hope. You just suffocate them from the start, and that's exactly how you want to handle a road game in particular against a bad team, against a weaker opponent. And the Jets, textbook. You get the early goal, you go up, for the most part, Crosby and Malkin were absolutely invisible in this game. Look, Sidney Crosby, and I feel bad, criticizing Sidney Crosby for everything he's done as a player, but until he fought Kyle Connor, a sentence I did not expect to say on tonight's postgame show, he was relatively invisible the whole game. And Sidney Crosby, of course, he's not the same player he once was, but I promise you that when you see him play at the Four Nations Cup in February, you're going to notice Sidney Crosby a lot more than you noticed him tonight. And that's simply a fact that he's just playing on a terrible team with no real help around him. And he can't do it on his own anymore because he's not that same player that he once was. But, just a bit of a wild night in Pittsburgh in that Crosby and Connor, nobody in a million years would have ever said that Sidney Crosby and Kyle Connor are going to fight each other. And Kyle Connor is going to win that fight fairly handily. It wasn't, you watch the replay, and neither of those guys really know what they're doing when they're fighting, but Connor got a good right hand in on Sidney Crosby and hit him in the jaw. And it's what precipitated the fight that's most amazing, where he does a reverse hit in the offensive zone. Who is this Kyle Connor?
I'll tell you who he is. And we interviewed him on what's today? Today's Friday, so I think it was on Wednesday when we talked to him.
Yeah.
Again, that interview available on the Illegal Curve Hockey YouTube channel. But the truth is that when we talked to him, and I was going to actually ask Scott O'Neill about it when we had a media availability later on in the Matt Frost Media Center with him, because this team is, and I've talked about it, we mentioned the fueled by embarrassment and how this team is just wired differently right now.
Yeah.
But Kyle Connor is a perfect example to me, Drew, of this team in the way that they are just focused. They're laser focused on this team. I guarantee you, like I said, Mike McIntyre will have the post-game media comments. You can watch those on in our game recap, which we have on the website. But I guarantee you this team will just be like, okay, we move on to Nashville.
Sure.
Because Kyle Connor just said, you know what, he talked about how they learned from the game against Pittsburgh on Saturday. That they obviously got demolished when they lost 5-0.
The game against Florida, you mean?
Sorry, did I say Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah, against Florida that they lost 5-0.
The one a week ago, yeah.
Yeah, how they rebounded to come back on Tuesday night and beat them, double them up 6-3. But just the manner in which the Jets are focused, the fact that they learned their lessons from what cost them before.
Right.
And look, this is a team that was 4th overall in the NHL, 110 points. We've talked about last year's team a lot. But this team doesn't. Only thing that they're taking up from last year is what not to do. And again, they're not getting too high. They're just continuing on, and they are 17-3-0. And I don't know if I heard it right, but I think Dan said at the end of the broadcast, I think they're just the 6th team in NHL history to get to that mark. So,
sure.
It just continues to be impressive. And, it's funny because we were a week ago, Drew, you get embarrassed 5-0 in front of the, not in front of, but there was a lot of fans in Florida, in Sunrise. but you get embarrassed by the defending Stanley Cup champs. The world is coming to an end. And then, oh, wait a second. You've now beat the defending Stanley Cup champs, and you look good doing it.
Yeah.
And then you go into Pittsburgh, and you do what we talk about, which is that the Jets never really, it wasn't like this was an even game. We talked about it, I think it was after the first period, expected goals for Pittsburgh are like what did I say, Spency? Like 0.25, like it was low.
Right.
So I'm just saying that the Jets did exactly what they needed to do against an opponent like the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Absolutely right, and that's what you want to see from a good team, and from a team that is not.
Hamilton Dave, by the way, drove down from the Hammer, just leaving the game, great win. Saying hi to everybody in the IC fam.
There you go.
Hamilton Dave.
Now, Hamilton Dave, were you the furry? We need to know who the Winnipeg Jets furry was that was shown on the broadcast in the arena in Pittsburgh. If anyone knows that furry, he, she, they, whatever a furry may be, we want them on the post-game show tonight. This is an invitation for the furry to get in touch with us. We want to have the exclusive interview with the furry that was at the game repping the Jets tonight in Pittsburgh.
So and just to clarify why, Illegal Curve is the place, because if anybody remembers last year when the Jets were playing Detroit, and the guy was cracking his neck.
We had the neck cracking
dude who was well into his cups at Bar Italia, if I recall correctly.
True.
So we will, hey, if we can get a furry on, why not? Let's just keep it rolling.
Exactly. We are the home for the miscreants, the vagrants, the lost souls, whomever they may be. They always have a spot here.
And the normies.
And the normies.
Well,
the normies, normie-ish.
In quotes.
Yeah, exactly. So if anyone knows the furry, because that was probably the best part of the game tonight, is anybody dressed up in that kind of costume. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, members of the IC Nation. We are live here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. The Illegal Curve watch party and then live post-game show talking about the Winnipeg Jets 4-1 victory over the Pittsburgh Penguins, a one-sided effort for the Winnipeg Jets. Kyle Connor dropping Sidney Crosby. You saw a little bit of Evgeny Malkin be a little bit, people don't realize how sort of dirty Evgeny Malkin is as a player. Remember that great battle that him and Blake Wheeler had over the years, but there was that sequence they showed on the game where him and Neil Pionk were going at it, where he gave Pionk a couple of forearm shivers to the jaw, and then he gave him a little bit of a two-hander as well. I mean, when he was at his best, he was still dirty. Now he's not quite at his best, but he's still a little bit dirty. It's got to be frustrating for those guys to not be able to see what they've become, and to see what their team has become in Pittsburgh, as they're just sort of a bit of an embarrassment, and certainly we're embarrassed on home ice tonight by the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets, of course, in action tomorrow night in Nashville, so it's a back-to-back situation. The Jets, I'm sure, will very quickly head from Pittsburgh down to Nashville. I guess a positive is they gain an hour, given that it's for the Central Time Zone.
Is the birthday boy speaking right now?
Yeah, Vlad Nemesnikov, he's speaking right now. He scored in tonight's game as well. So a good result for the Winnipeg Jets. It looks like the board went down here. Everything's happening here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. We're having a ton of fun. Dave Manouk, Drew Mandel here with the Illegal Curve post-game show. Why don't we get into it? It's brought to you by Play Now. Of course, Play Now is your home for safe, legal, and responsible sports gambling here in Manitoba. All proceeds from Play Now stay in Manitoba. So if you're looking to make a bet, we do recommend our friends at Play Now. And tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m., this is a little bit of a preview. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., on the Illegal Curve Instagram page, on the Illegal Curve Facebook page, we're starting to give away tickets for the next Illegal Curve and Play Now Jets giveaway. It's for the Jets-Habs Saturday night game.
That's a nice little game.
That's a nice little game in mid-December if you're looking for something. So be sure to keep it locked. You got to follow Illegal Curve on Instagram. You got to follow Illegal Curve on Facebook. And you'll be able to, of course, enter the contest to get the Jets and the Habs tickets upcoming in December. Alrighty, I've rambled enough. Let's get into the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show and the Illegal Curve hockey show. The Winnipeg Jets opened the scoring in tonight's game. Exactly what we talked about, Dave, in the prelude, in the lead up to this post-game show. The Winnipeg Jets opened the scoring at the 1:22 mark. It's it's a goal from Nino Niederreiter gets the goal after just a brutal Pittsburgh turnover. Just atrocious play in their own zone. I mean, you can see it here. It's on the screen right in front of us. It's just like a bit of a Keystone Cops moment here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like Evgeny Malkin is just soft and casual with the puck. Adam Lowry is just harder on the puck than Evgeny Malkin is. It comes out to Nino Niederreiter. He dekes out Tristan Jarry and puts it behind him, and it's 1-0 for the Jets. And it's just the arrogance that's in the Penguins game versus the effort and determination that's in the Winnipeg Jets game, and has been a hallmark of the Winnipeg Jets so far this season.
Well, Drew, as much as you know, I don't love to quote you, but those attention to detail moments are not there for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Right.
And that's a perfect example. I mean, Evgeny Malkin in his zone, just being sloppy with the puck, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And especially, you're the last place team in the Metro Division. As I said, you give up a lot of goals. You also don't score a ton of goals. I think they came in to today's game scoring 54 on the season. So from that perspective, Drew, that's another reason why if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins, you need a better start than that one. And to allow Nino Niederreiter to have, as former Jets coach Claude Noel used to call him, a free pizza like that, it's just inexcusable. So what ends up happening, the Jets, aren't going to apologize. They're going to take advantage of it. And sure enough, it's a 1-0 game. Nino Niederreiter, I mean, there's not much to describe. He takes advantage of a free puck. We were sitting here kind of shocked at what happened. We're like, how did he even get that puck at first? And then,
because there's nothing dangerous about that play. It just becomes dangerous because of Adam Lowry's hard forecheck.
And Mason Appleton as well.
And Mason Appleton.
I'm going to highlight this comment by Brendan because he's right.
Absolutely. It's just harder. The Jets are harder on the puck than the Penguins were in defending it. They wanted it more, and they got rewarded for that. It's just simple. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and I think Brendan's going to the Moose game tomorrow, if I'm recalling correctly. So, Brendan, I have a good time at tomorrow's Moose game.
Speaking of the Moose game tomorrow, I have just been provided with 4 tickets to the Moose game for tomorrow.
Wow.
I'm not able to use those tickets. If you want to go to the Moose game tomorrow, usually you have to email Dave or message Dave or DM Dave. No, this time message me. Slide into my DMs.
You also have a whole bunch of people
anybody here at Boston Pizza that's listening to me right now, if you want to go to the Moose game, come see me after the post-game show. I got 4 tickets for you for tomorrow afternoon's Moose game. That's all you got to do is you have to come and at least introduce yourself to me, which might be too much for a lot of people, really, to ask them to introduce themselves to me. But I got 4 tickets for the Moose game for tomorrow for anybody who wants them.
Well, I'm loath to give up my Moose Minute time to Drew, but that's, you know what, if you can get more people to go to the game, get a chance to see the Jets up tomorrow,
yes,
it'll be a good game. 2:00 is puck drop as they go for the mini-series win against those Chicago Wolves, who I pointed out on Twitter yesterday might have the most former NHLers and brothers of NHLers on and a nephew of it. They've got 7 guys who are connected to guys who are in the NHL on their team.
There you go. That's another one of those random Dave M. Comments that you would not expect. For those asking, at IC Drew, if you want the Moose tickets for tomorrow, you can slide. That's both on Twitter, X, Blue Sky, whatever. You can slide in there, and I'll hook you up with
Mastodon.
I'm not on Mastodon. That was a thing there for a while, wasn't
I think
it?
Ezzy got us on Mastodon for a little bit.
Yeah, well, that sounds about right. In any event, 1-0 for the Winnipeg Jets early in the game. A first period that they absolutely controlled. We talked about the one-sided shots on goals, 7-0 for a lot of the game. A lot of that first period, rather. The Jets absolutely possessed the puck, 64% possession versus 58% versus 42% in that first period. I was looking at the Fenwick. I wasn't looking at the Corsi. My apologies for that. But a one-sided first period for the Winnipeg Jets, and it's 1-0 after the 20 minutes. The Jets double it up. The birthday boy gets on the board. Vlad Nemesnikov, his 6th of the season, assist to Nikolai Ehlers. That comes at the 4:53 mark of the second period, giving the Jets a 2-0 lead. It's a 3-on-2 for the Winnipeg Jets, but Vlad Nemesnikov has so much time after he takes the draw pass from Nikolai Ehlers. I'm pretty sure he had enough time to fly here to Winnipeg, go into the Boston Pizza kitchen, make himself up a Boston Brute or one of the Boston pizzas itself, maybe a pierogi pizza, shot the puck, got the rebound, and then tucked it behind Tristan Jarry. I don't know where the Penguins were, or if the Penguins have heard of the words back check, but it was just, I mean, you don't see that kind of time for a player to have, especially on the rebound. It's one thing to get the first shot and have it go in, but he gets the rebound and then tucks that behind Jari, who's got to be saying here, hey guys, a little bit of help.
Well, yeah, I mean, defense optional, really. And like I said, this Penguins team is not what they were. As my Baba used to say, what was. And these guys are not they're not even really a playoff contender, as evidenced by the fact that they're 7th in the Metro. And as you said, Drew, the glory days, to quote Bruce Springsteen, are long, long gone. They are. It's just it's a reality. And I'm not saying that the Penguins can't win hockey games. They can, but they just don't have it. There's no resiliency there. There's no speed there. The Jets were able to control the pace of play. Jets were able to kind of, I want to say, like, put their stamp on the game and not really allow Pittsburgh to have any sort of opportunity to dictate the play. And to me, yeah, you're right. This is more evidence of the fact that, and you got to give credit, right? Like, Nino Niederreiter and Vlad Nemestikov are having historic seasons. They really are, from a goal-scoring perspective.
Yeah.
And
career years.
By historic for them,
Right.
Obviously, I'm not saying for not in the sense of the game.
Right,
of course.
historic. They're having career years.
Yes,
Is the phrase you were looking for there.
Look, there's a lot going on with the Winnipeg Jets right now that's historic, so I probably should just focus on that itself. But again, how does it start? It starts with, a good defensive play, but then just terrible defense by the Penguins, right? And so you look at that, and like you said, Drew, they have all sorts of time. It's a 4-on-2. And, Neil Pionk, again, we like the aggressiveness that he plays with, because he's just another body. He's creating more confusion in the blue paint. And then Vlad Nemestikov, as you said, has all sorts of time and space, and he gets to put that puck home.
But, like, look at the effort. I mean, it's on your screen in front of me here.
Yeah.
You can,
First of all, Nikolai Ehlers loves to have that kind of time to dish that puck off. But you're right, for Nemestikov to be able to get that shot off, and then unmolested be able to go right to the front of the net and put it in.
If you rewind that video, I mean, you don't have to do it right now. But
I'm not going to.
I know. And you look at the Penguins, who are allegedly hustling back to get to break up what is a one-sided play here. It's a 4-on-2 for the Jets. If you're not one of those two defenders, you should be busting your hump to get back there to make sure and help your teammates out. Instead, what do you see? You see guys striding. You see guys who are not giving what I would describe as 110% to get back into that play. Now, you're probably not necessarily you already are so far out of the play, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to get back and prevent it.
Right.
But you have to at least put forth the effort. It's the lack of effort that is so problematic. If you're Mike Sullivan, if you're Kyle Dubas, if you're Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, and your standard is what it was, which is when you won the Stanley Cup. That's what the standard has to be, and this is what you're seeing from your teammates. It's got to be absolutely infuriating.
Well, and we've heard that it is. We've heard that people are not happy with this, the way things are looking right now in Pittsburgh. And, there's a bunch of comments, like people like, Rutger can't make this team.
Right.
And one of the other comments that one of our IC followers who are here tonight said, here's the reality. Maybe if you're Pittsburgh, you don't want Rutger on this team. Now, again, I think his skating needs a lot of work, and I think it's better that he's in the AHL, but it is something to consider. But, Frederick's comment, which is something I think is the theme you and I are talking about through the course of this broadcast already, 25 minutes in, Drew, is Frederick's saying, for the folks who are listening on the podcast, that, they outcompeted the Penguins all night. And I don't think there's any question about it. That's exactly what we saw in this hockey game. And again, it's more and more examples of Winnipeg just putting their stamp on the game, putting their, how do you like to say, Drew? It was their brand. They wanted to play what their brand of hockey was going to be.
Right.
And they went out, and remember, you don't have last change, you don't have the benefit of that. And we've seen actually that Scott O'Neill's had, I think the stats have shown, he's been better actually away from the, when you're less line matchy than when you don't have that option.
This is a game where you can just roll 4 lines. I mean,
absolutely.
You're not worrying about line matching here, especially after you see, the effort that Pittsburgh's putting forth. You're not worried about who you're matching up with, or you're not, particularly concerned about anything to do with that. You're just worried about, okay, let's get our guys enough ice time. Let's keep them as healthy and refreshed as possible so that they have the back-to-back tomorrow against Nashville. And truly, you couldn't ask for a better stepping into a back-to-back, you couldn't ask for a better first game because nothing about this game was taxing for the Winnipeg Jets. It wasn't taxing for Connor Hellebuyck. I don't expect that they will go back to Hellebuyck back-to-back. There's no reason to at this stage of the career and when you're 17-3, but there's no reason why they necessarily couldn't, given that it's not like there was a workload issue here. He had, 19 shots against in the entirety of the game?
Yeah, I would think that in some instances you would, but as you just touched on, you're 17-3. Eric Comrie's giving you quality starts.
Of course.
So you don't really need to do anything. And again, it's not like you're going up against a top-tier team. You're going up against Nashville.
Right.
So I'm not saying that Nashville can't beat a good team. They can. But I just don't think that Nashville's a very good team, right now. And they haven't gotten it figured out. I suspect Steven Stamkos is like, why didn't I stay in Tampa right now? But
well, they didn't want him.
well,
They didn't want him at that price.
Sure.
The problem. They chose Jake Gensel.
Right. But again, it's just I don't think you're gonna. The whole reason why you need Connor Hellebuyck for the playoffs, just like everybody else. And you don't need. It's not like you need the 2 points. If you lose the game, it's not the end of the world. But not to suggest, again, I don't think this team doesn't have confidence that they can get wins with Eric Comrie. So, of course, we'll focus on that tomorrow on the Saturday show, on the post-game show tomorrow night. But, yeah, I would be shocked if it was Connor Hellebuyck tomorrow.
I agree.
I can't see why you wouldn't go Comrie Saturday, and then you've got Hellebuyck against Minnesota, which is, a more important game in my mind than this Nashville game.
Yeah, Minnesota, because the Jets have been so incredible this year, nobody's talking about how good the Minnesota Wild have been. Jesse Pierce is going to join us tomorrow morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show to talk about the Wild, preview that Jets Wild. That's going to be a game on Monday night, which is going to be a hell of a hockey game. So you can look forward to that coming up on Monday night. On tomorrow morning's Illegal Curve Hockey Show. So 2-0 at this point in time for the Winnipeg Jets, and then they make it 3-0 with 59 seconds to go in the second period. It's a power play goal. Evgeny Malkin, this is the first time really you noticed him all game. He's in the box for tripping, and Gabe Vilardi gets his 8th of the year assist to Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey. Kyle Connor was terrific tonight for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
He goes and he gets the puck retrieval here on the power play. The puck retrievals have been something the Jets have been great at all season long, especially on the power play. He goes and gets the loose puck. He wins the puck retrieval, puts it back to Morrissey, Morrissey back to Connor, and Connor just with a beautiful pass to Gabe Vilardi, who's all alone in the bumper position, and he goes short side on Tristan Jarry to really solidify this game and end this game as it's 3-0 now, and that's how the second period comes to an end.
Yeah, and look, this is a power play. Like I said, this is the one aspect of Pittsburgh that's good is their PK had been pretty good this season, like I said, coming in at 9th overall. But this Jets power play is just so good, right? Like they quick movement and, like you said, good puck retrievals, and they're not willing to give it up. They're not willing to give up the line. Morrissey's tough at the line, and they just have a faith, an implicit understanding as to where their teammates are going to be. And so when you watch this team, the confidence level is just so off the charts for the Winnipeg Jets power play. And why wouldn't you? You score it it's come down from 45%. I think it's now 36 or 37%. Something like that. So
I mean, it's still incredible.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's 45% was not sustainable, although it was crazy because it was 45% through 15 games. Yeah.
But by the way, the Moose tickets have been claimed.
Okay.
Just wanted to let you know, in case anybody else is trying to claim them, the Moose tickets have been claimed for tomorrow.
All right, well, that's good. That's always good to see. You'll see me look up in the press box. I'll be up there. But look, I think this game was over at this point. It was really just academic. I jokingly said, should we start the post-game show now? Because I didn't think there was hope in hell that the Jets were going to give up this lead. Jets are 10-0 this season when they have scored the first goal. So, I mean, that's a good indicator. They're also 7-3 when they don't score the first goal. So, you've got a pretty good record when they're not scoring that first goal, Drew. Yeah. But this, it's just it's just another example of Vilardi finds that space, gets his shot off quickly, doesn't stop it, just fires it on net. Jarry has no chance, and Vilardi's got 8 goals. And that's one of the guys that we said quietly, yeah. Well, because again, he didn't have anything really. He had a bunch of assists to start, but he didn't score, I think, till game 10 or something like that? Something like that. So he's kind of gone on a little bit of a run. But yeah, I mean, look, that's what you need. You needed all of these guys to contribute. So where are you getting? Think about this now. So you got the third line, the Lowry line, whatever you want to call it. The Nemestikov line scores. Velarde scores on the power play. But again, it's that equal distribution. It's all the guys contributing. It's not just coming.
It's pick your poison if you're an opponent.
That's right. And so, this was it's hard to make, you don't want to overblow this game. I mean, this isn't the Jets defeating the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, it wasn't the Panthers game or the Stars game or against upper echelon teams.
Right.
But it's what they've done all year, which is beat up weaker teams.
It's what they didn't do last year.
Or historically.
Fine. But we're looking at really last year, because this is basically last year's team. So that's kind of our reference point. And what I'm saying is that from that perspective, if you look at what the Jets did when they played Chicago last year, or they played San Jose last year, and I'm not talking about instances where they got goalied. I'm just talking about how games would be tight against teams that shouldn't be tight against.
Right.
This year, you don't see that.
Right
and again,
now,
I think it's just an adherence to a structure that this team understands is going to help win them hockey games.
No dispute from me whatsoever. 3-0 for the Jets after 40 minutes. The Penguins get on the board at the 5:49 mark of the third period. It's a power play goal. The refs blew this call. Alex Iafallo's in the box for tripping. You watch the replay, and you can see that the Penguins player falls on his own. You understand why the official, it's the back official, he sees Iafallo's stick is sort of in the vicinity of the skate.
It's within 6 inches.
Right, but he doesn't actually touch him. The player falls on his own. The refs, they missed this one. It happens. The Penguins score. The Jets, lose a little bit of their structure on the penalty kill in this one. I think they over-pursued into the corner in my spot. Mason Appleton is sort of stuck in no man's land. He's not sure if he should be taking...
His 300th game as a Winnipeg Jet, by the way.
There you go. He's not sure if he should be taking Brian Rust or if he should be taking Michael Bunting. He takes neither. Rust feeds it across to Bunting, and Bunting gets it past Connor Hellebuyck, the only goal that Hellebuyck gives up in tonight's game. And it's 3-1 at that point in time. And the Penguins are going to open things up. They're going to push. They're going to...
Drew, I mean, I don't want to tell you your job, but...
I know, I missed it. So right.
Gabe Velarde's goal.
I know. Sorry, I saw Snackatoba gave me the reminder, and I meant to play it after you were done talking, but then I managed to forget. Somehow I managed to forget twice. So apologies to Gabe Velarde. It's also this.
The Seagram shot of the game.
I really should have done, if I was really a deep thinker, is I should have given the Seagram shot of the game to Kyle Connor for his punch on Sidney Crosby. That would have been much funnier.
I don't want to say anything, but in the last few weeks or the last few shows, you've been giving out a couple of Seagram shots of the game.
Yeah,
so
that's true. I could do it again.
Nobody is stopping you. You do have controls at your fingertips if you so choose. But yeah, I mean, anyway, so the Jets give up their structure. The PK is the one area that you want to see the Jets get better at. It is, they've got good enough players in Lowry and Appleton and Kupari and Barron. Morgan Barron had a good chance on the
shorthanded early in the game. Yeah, that was in the first period.
So there's enough opportunities for those guys to. There's enough talent. That the PK should be better, and that's one area that like I said, they were coming into the game. I believe the Jets were 17th overall. Gave up a power play goal today. So that's just if we're going to nitpick, that's probably just the one area that it was a concern last year for me. It's got to be again. You don't need it to be top 5. It doesn't even probably have to be top 10, but you want it to be
top half of the league.
That's right, top half.
You want both your special teams to be in the top half of the league. If your special teams are in the top half and your 5-on-5 plays in the top half, good things are going to come to you. I mean, the Jets obviously have had good things come to them, but they're deserving of those good things with the 17-3 record so far this season. The Penguins, like I said, they're pushing hard. They're trying to get back into the game. They get another power play opportunity. Cole Perfetti takes an interference penalty. Again, another one that I sort of understand, but I thought it was more incidental. I didn't think it was a deliberate pick.
Mike, who was there, called it a pick.
I know, but you look at the replay again, I think both guys have their heads down. I just think they run into each other.
Yeah, that's when I watched it, and even on the replay, to me, it just looked like two guys who just didn't see each other and just kind of smashed. But yeah.
In this case, Perfetti gets called for the interference penalty on an offensive zone interference penalty. But you talk about timely penalty kills. Had the Penguins scored here,
Yeah.
I mean, this happens, at the halfway mark of this third period. Had the Penguins score there, all of a sudden, it's a one-goal game with 10 minutes to play. Instead, the Jets PK steps up and they get the kill, a big kill that really snuffed out any final hopes, extinguished any final hopes of the Penguins getting back into this game tonight. That the Jets ultimately win 4-1.
Well, and like I said, you want to see the PK be better, and that was an instance where it was better, and it needed to be. That was a real important one. You're right, Drew. If there's any chance, Craig Button with quite the shirt on.
I was going to say, Craig is donning a
Sir Tommy
Hawaiian
Bahama
shirt.
Sir Tommy Bahama, I'm going to start calling Craig Button soon. But
yeah, that's a stylish shirt. I mean, we're watching it on the big screen here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, but Craig, who's normally not one for big, loud patterns.
Yeah, he's really rocking it right there.
We might have to send him a text and see where, we'll see how that shirt came to be.
Response back. How did you get this number? Anyways,
hey,
so
if he responds to Ginsburg,
fair.
Imagine what he would do if we responded. He'll call us in return. Never mind just responding to the text.
Good point. Good point, Drew. So look, you do like the fact that they did step up when they needed to, because and I don't even think Pittsburgh comes back if they make it 3-2, but yeah, obviously it changes the nature of that game at that point.
Yeah, so instead they kill the penalty, 3-1 at that point. The Jets get the empty net goal. You know that Kyle Connor enjoyed that one after he gets his Gordie Howe hat trick.
As Drew pointed out, his first ever fight, first ever, I think even his first ever sniff at a fight. I've watched him throughout his days in Michigan. I can't say I watched him with the Youngstown Phantoms.
Yeah, well, you're falling down on the job, really.
I do. But I will say that I don't remember him ever getting angry to, kind of the Zoolander, you made me bleed my own blood sort of thing. But he looked like he was ready to give it to Sidney Crosby. Maybe that's a little Four Nations prelude or something like that.
Maybe they'll have a little bit of a jousting battle come February when the Four Nations tournament starts again. Because these two teams won't face each other again this season.
No, the Jets sweep.
The Jets sweep the two, and I'm confident in saying that the Penguins aren't going to make it to the Stanley Cup final.
I don't think they're going to make it to the playoffs.
I know. That's why I'm confident. But the only time they would play each other is in the final.
Yes. Sorry, yes.
So I'm confident in saying that. They can make the playoffs, and they still aren't going to make it that far.
Right.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs either. Speaking of Kyle Connor, we'll go to break in a minute. But speaking of Kyle Connor, he had some interesting post-game comments that I want to highlight.
We like interesting.
Come back. Interesting that demonstrates the chip on the shoulder and the confidence that the Winnipeg Jets are playing with. So when we come back here on the Illegal Curve post-game show, coming to you live from Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, we will give you those Kyle Connor comments. Say that 10 times fast, by the way, Kyle Connor comments. And just talk about that a little bit and talk about what Scott or Neil had to say about Connor fighting as well. It's a Friday night. We're having a great time here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Spency's here, producer Tim's here, all the members of the IC Nation. Make some noise! Thank you. That's the Illegal Curve post-game show. It rolls on, presented by Play Now.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue,
Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
20 minutes after the top of the hour, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show, coming to you live from Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, where we are now in the portion of the show where we're having deep esoteric conversations such as, what's the difference between garlic bread and garlic toast?
And as far as I could say, I'm going to tell my boy Bruce over here, I think it's the same. I don't think there's any difference.
I mean, I guess you can't. Would anybody just have garlic bread, though?
That's not toasted.
That's not toasted. Like, is anybody just taking bread and
then
putting
it's just
garlic butter on it without putting it in the oven?
Ezzy would.
Well, no, Ezzy would just eat the garlic butter without any bread altogether. He would just scoop out garlic. Yeah, just like Kramer, when Kramer sunbathes in with the butter. Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Exactly. So I think you can't have. I don't think anybody would have garlic bread that's not toasted.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, it seems like it probably.
I'm having it tomorrow just to spite you. Garlic bread comes in a loaf and then you have to slice it, but garlic toast is already sliced.
This is the kind of riveting TV people join us for here on the Illegal Curve postgame show.
The fact is, we were letting Bruce even give his opinion on it, even though he was off mic. So people were wondering why there's dead air. It's because we were listening to Bruce opine about garlic bread versus
we
garlic
got the
toast.
definitive answer. Tico Napoli chimes in. Bread's in the oven. Toast is toasted.
Interesting. There we go. Okay, well, we're really delving deep into this one, so we'll let people continue talking about that one while we look at some of the interesting post-game quotes here. As I mentioned, as I was teasing you with a little tantalizing tease, a little tickle, if you will.
I did make the old da-da-da.
Yeah, before the break, here is what Kyle Connor had to say about his fight with Sidney Crosby tonight. Quote, "We're not taking shit from anybody."
Ooh.
That's what Kyle Connor had to say about his fight with Sidney Crosby. Admits he was surprised Crosby came after him, thinks the Penguins captain was frustrated and trying to fire up his team. I would agree with that. I think Crosby was frustrated by the way his team was playing.
Yeah.
He was probably frustrated by his own performance because he was fairly invisible. He was frustrated when Kyle Connor got him with the reverse hit in the offensive zone, which was a great play by the Jets winger, and he went after him, and then he loses the fight on top of it all. So not a great night for Sidney Crosby, but a damn good night for Kyle Connor, who got the assist, he got the goal, he got the fight, he got the win, and he got a little bit of a jab in at Sidney Crosby there, and boosted up his own team, talking about how the Winnipeg Jets had got that little bit of a swagger. A little bit, I wouldn't call it quite an arrogance because we haven't seen arrogance into their game.
No.
But a bit of a swagger that says, hey, we're 17-3. You come after us. We're going to come back at you twice as hard, and we're going to show you who the bosses of the NHL really are right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, you want this team to play with confidence. You don't want them to be apologetic for the success they're having, right? So it is a fine line to walk. It is one that you have to do. And like I said, you enjoy the win tonight, and then you move on till tomorrow. And they don't have a lot of time. Normally they'd get, a practice day or a travel day.
Right.
Tomorrow is obviously a game day again. So it really isn't going to be one of those things where Winnipeg says, okay, great, we get to think about this for that long. Okay, you can think about it on the plane. As Kyle Connor said when he was talking about the plane ride home from Florida, one of the longest plane rides, he just said, look, it was a quiet plane ride, right? We were snapping around, playing some cards, but they're, not jovial. But the one thing I've said, and the one thing I've mentioned on previous broadcasts, Drew, is that when I'm in that dressing room with these players after practice, not really after games, obviously, because we're doing the show, but so after practice, the one thing I notice, I couldn't tell you if they're on a win streak or a lose streak. They're even keel. They're the same team night in, night out, or day in, day out, because obviously I'm not there at night. But the fact of the matter is that, like I said, you just continue to see the same thing because they know this is all setting itself up. As Scott Arniel called it, we're developing calluses now. We want to develop a thick skin. We want to be able to have some resiliency. So when there are times when we have some sort of actual stress, we know A, how to handle it, and B, we can withstand it. We're not going to become, a shell of what we are. So to me, again, like I said, it's just business as usual and just move on.
Yeah. We're watching the Mesnikov's goal here again. I mean, I can't believe, look at this. I mean, where are the Penguins? First of all,
Carlson
Erik
is like
Karlsson
the last one.
Yeah, Erik Karlsson, I mean, God bless him. We know how talented he is offensively, but my God, it's not even, I mean, it's borderline embarrassing that, how lackadaisical he is and just doesn't give a damn about his defensive side of the game. He would fit in with those old version of the Winnipeg Jets very well when it came to only caring about one part of the game.
Let me tell you, if you're the San Jose Sharks, you're thanking your lucky stars that you found someone to take him off your hands so you could rebuild your team.
Take the contract. Mike McIntyre, our buddy who's at the arena in Pittsburgh, asked Kyle Connor.
Did he see Hamilton Dave?
I don't know if he saw Hamilton Dave or not, but he asked Kyle Connor if he'd ever been in a fight before. Kyle Connor responded, quote, "I've got a couple of brothers, so if you count that."
And they're showing it right now on the screen.
Him fighting with his brothers or him fighting with Sidney
He threw
Crosby?
a pretty good right on Crosby.
Caught him with a good right.
Yeah, and you can tell Crosby was pissed because Crosby's throwing punches over the linesman. So but hey, look, that's what you want to see. And one of the things that we're hearing with Connor more and more, and one of those things, and look, I've covered him like in a live perspective. Obviously, I watched him in college, but I didn't cover him when he was in college.
Right.
We covered him at the draft when he got drafted in 2015 in Sunrise. But whether it was the Moose or the Jets early on, he was not a guy who spoke. He was quiet. And now you're seeing a Kyle Connor that is comfortable in his own skin. Mm-hmm. And
the power of the mustache.
Well, it might be that, but it's just, again, like I said, it's just a guy who is I don't know if it was, I think it was Scott Arniel said it the other day. He said, listen, when he talks, guys listen, because he doesn't talk that much. Dylan DeMello may have said it as well when we talked to him. And that to me is what is that when he talks, when he says something, the guys listen. He doesn't just talk for the sake of talking. He's a quiet guy, but has some things to say, and the guys obviously respect him in that room.
Here's what Scott Arniel had to say about the Kyle Connor fight. Quote, "Guys won't come near him now that they see he can drop them." For carrying on, "No, I do not want to see that. Great he got a Gordie Howe hat trick, but I don't want to see my top goal scorer dropping the glove." So I don't think it's going to become a regular part of Kyle Connor's game, but on this night in Pittsburgh, in this instance, the Winnipeg Jets will gladly take Kyle Connor scoring goals, take Kyle Connor setting up goals, and take Kyle Connor dropping the gloves as it leads and helps to lead to a 4-1 victory for the Winnipeg Jets over the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Jets, of course, now next in action tomorrow night against the Nashville Predators, the final division opponent, the one divisional opponent they have not yet played and have not yet defeated. They will go for the Central Division sweep, if you will, tomorrow night in Nashville. The Illegal Curve post-game show right around 8:40, 8:45 p.m., give or take tomorrow night. But before then, the Illegal Curve hockey show, 9 a.m. tomorrow, where we'll talk about tonight's game. We'll talk about the Jets and the Predators. We'll preview the rest of the road trip. Tons to come tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. on the Illegal Curve hockey show.
Yeah, there's some stuff I'll get into it a little bit more next. A couple things we can talk about. Ville Heinola, of course, and I know we'll talk about it more tomorrow, but, he had his first game in 7 months, which I think I caught him off guard when I said, Ville, it's your first game in 7 months. And he kind of was like, oh, it has been a long time. The Moose weren't good in yesterday's game collectively as a group, as they lost, handily to Chicago, the kids didn't care. They kept singing the entire time, screaming for blood if there was a fight. So
what song were you singing along with the kids? I know you saw that they sang Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, definitely Espresso. I'm a big Sabrina Carpenter guy, of course.
Of course, yeah.
That was pretty much it.
What about Tay Tay? I assume there were some Tay Tay songs.
They're Not Like Us, a little Kendrick Lamar. They did that,
really?
And the kids are singing along. They didn't have any problems doing that. Is Your Boy Bruce was telling us about the Kendrick Lamar dropping a new album today, so
interesting.
Some serious excitement going on over there. But look, it was a great environment for the kids. Over 5,000 kids screaming and being loud the entire game. Just an unfortunate instance. The Moose just didn't play a particularly good game, which is odd because they played really strong to end the road trip. It's including defeating the same Chicago team 5-3 in Chicago on Saturday. So they got embarrassed handily, or they got handled, I should say, by Chicago. They'll go for the mini series win tomorrow at 2:00, and then just some quick prospect news. They got Colby Barlow had a couple of assists for Oshawa. Kevin He had a goal and assist for Niagara. Kieran Walton, I've been talking about him more and more. 2024 6-rounder. He had 2 goals and 1 assist for Sudbury. And Jacob Julian didn't have anything for London. And I'm not sure I know that Brendan, it's interesting because I thought it was Jagger.
Right.
And then I heard Craig on the under 24 saying it's Jaeger.
I thought it was Jaeger.
I thought it was Jaeger too, but then I was listening to the broadcast and he was saying Jagger. And I got to think that the team play-by-play voice is going to know how to pronounce the guy's name.
Right.
So I think it's Jagger.
Jaeger.
Yeah.
Jaeger.
I mean,
Jaeger.
the problem is...
Let's call the whole thing off.
The only thing I'm going to say is that the team does call it Jaeger bombs. So I'm not quite certain which it is, but he's not in action tonight. They played last night.
That's a long way to say he's not playing in tonight's game.
He's not playing in the WHL, all the games, because it's, of course, in Western Canada, those games are, and I should say the Western United States, those games are still going on. So we'll get into those tomorrow. But the OHL prospects, especially Kevin He and Kieran Walton, are really looking good, like good picks. The 4th rounder and the 6th rounder from 2024.
Well, there you go, Dave M., of course, with his prospects roundup on this Friday night edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. I think we'll wrap it there because we're going to be back at it in 11 and a half hours with the Illegal Curve hockey show, and then again tomorrow at about 23 hours with the Illegal Curve post-game show. So plenty of Illegal Curve coming your way this weekend is what I'm trying to say. Big thanks to everybody here at Boston Pizza for joining us. There you go. Big thanks to all of you for joining us for the Illegal Curve watch party and the Illegal Curve post-game show. We'll do it all again coming up soon. Details to follow on that. Big thanks to all of our sponsors, of course, our friends at Play Now, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, all these great companies, Seagram's as well, all these great companies support Illegal Curve, so we want you to support them in return. Did Spency just turn the camera to himself?
Full camera.
Okay, the camera's on Spency, which is our cue to wrap up the show, and everyone else in the background too.
Folks who are still here.
The show has never been more handsome than it currently is. For everybody here at Boston Pizza, for Dave Manook, for producer Tim, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Until 9 a.m. tomorrow, we wish you good night and good luck. Thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow @Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.